Did there come a time in your life when Lyle began to intercede on your behalf, particularly with your father?
Yeah, there came a time when Lyle started to intercede for me with all kinds of things.
Okay. Well, let's start out, though, with this. Was there a time that Lyle rescued you from drowning?
Yes.
And would you tell us how that came about?
Dad took us out on the Sunfish. He had this little sailboat for the lake, and the lake had a big round part, and he would take us out into the middle of the lake. On this particular occasion, he wanted Lyle and I from the middle of the lake to swim to shore.
Now, before you go on, had your father told you scary stories about the lake?
Yeah.
Took you a while to get to that one.
Yeah, a lot of choices.
Okay, objection is overruled.
Okay. And this is not being offered for the truth, Your Honor, but for the witness's state of mind. What stories did your father tell you about the lake?
He would tell me about the snapping turtles in the lake, which weren't really stories. I mean, they were true.
Okay.
But,
go ahead.
nothing.
What would he tell you about the snapping turtles in the lake?
He would just tell me about how the snapping turtles would bite people in the lake, and he would have a lot of fun while he was telling the stories, and then he would, jokingly try to push, right after one of the stories, Lyle or I into the water, and it wasn't that bad. It was just scary when you actually had to be in the lake.
Okay. Now, on this particular occasion when your brother rescued you, you said you were in the center portion of the lake and your father wanted you to swim from there to the shore.
Yes, he wanted Lyle and I.
Okay. And did you feel you could do that?
I wasn't sure. I'd never done it before.
Do you know how old you were?
I think it was 8,
Okay.
9.
Okay. So what happened?
He had Lyle go in first and swim, and then after Lyle, he had me. Not after, but right after. And so Lyle swam, and I didn't want to, but he got me in the water, and I started to swim.
How did he get you in the water?
He pushed me in the water.
I'm sorry?
He pushed me in the water.
He being your father?
Yes.
Okay. Go on.
And about halfway there, I didn't feel I was going to make it, and by the time I got even more there, I started to swallow in water, and it made me real scared, and I was just pushing with the water, and then I thought of the snapping turtles, and I just panicked.
And what did you do?
I started screaming for help.
And what happened?
And Lyle swam back over and grabbed me and lifted me up in the water, and then just took me to shore and said it's going to be all right.
So he was able to get you ashore?
Yes.
And what happened after that?
My dad sailed over to the shore and was not happy.
What do you mean when you say your dad was not happy?
He was extremely upset. He grabbed us, he threw us on the boat. He told Lyle never to do that again, that I should have been able to make it, and that I would have been able to make it. He just didn't give me a chance to make it, and that he shouldn't be, helping me like that.
And then what happened?
He took Lyle and I out onto the middle of the lake and had Lyle swim to the other side of the shore, and then have me swim to the other side.
And what was that swim like for you?
It was hard. I knew I had no choice but to make it at this point, and I just did it real slow, and I did it.
Now, this was after you had started competitive swimming, wasn't it?
Yes.
Were you afraid when you were put into the water in the lake?
Yes.
And did you communicate that fear to your father?
I don't remember doing so, but I'm pretty sure I did.
Do you remember an earlier time in Muncie when you were having trouble in a swimming pool?
Yes.
When you were going under several times?
Yes.
Overruled.
How old were you then?
It was before anything started happening with Dad, so I must have been 5, maybe 4.
And was your father at the side of that pool when you were having trouble in the water?
Yes.
And eventually did somebody...
Yeah, a stranger just reached over and grabbed me and lifted me up out of the water because I was just screaming for help.
But not your father?
No, my father wanted to see if I could make it.
Do you recall an incident where your father physically assaulted you on the home tennis court?
Yes.
Do you know how old you were when that occurred?
No.
Was it before or after your brother rescued you from the lake?
Oh, it was much after. It was, I guess I must have been, I was starting to play tennis, so I was probably 11 or 12.
And by the time you were 11 or 12, did you feel that your brother was your friend?
Yes, he had, my relationship with my brother began to change when I was 8 and 9. He was starting to protect me a lot from other kids, and I was still weary about the relationship, but
Why were you leery about the relationship?
just because Lyle and I would roughhouse a lot together, and he would pick on me a lot as the younger brother, and Dad